Hello students, last time we have explained about the bacterial diseases and the viral diseases of the Silkworm Bombyx mori. Today we are going to explain the important pests of the Silkworm Bombyx mori, and the same species of the silkworm pest can also attack other varieties or other species of the silkworm also. There are different type of silkworm pest belonging to either phylum Arthropoda, then aves, birds and mammals, which are causing the ultimate loss of the silkworm larvae, as these pests directly enter the rearing house and predate upon or the feeding upon the silkworm larvae, and can also damage the cocoon stock whatever is stored in the storage room. So important silkworm pest, first important silkworm pest is a dermestid beetle. So the beetles belonging to phylum Arthropoda, class Insecta, order Coleoptera, and the dermestid beetle, which is the silkworm pest, having genus and species, that is Dermestis cadaverinus. So this is the important silkworm pest which get attracted to the stippled cocoons or dried cocoons containing dried pupae inside. So the dermestid beetle is the important pest of the cocoons, and it directly enters the storeroom where the cocoons are stored and directly feeding onto the cocoons and dried pupae, killed pupae inside. So Dermestis cadaverinus, the adults are oval, elongated, dark brown in color with club-shaped antennae and measures up to 1 centimeter in a length. The larvae are red-brown in color, spindle-like with a hairy skin. The larvae and adults of the dermestid beetle, the larvae and adults of the dermestid beetle are attracted by the smell of the stippled cocoons and dried pupae inside. So the larvae and adults both are destructive or harmful to the sericulture. The larvae, that is maggot, and the adult beetles, the larvae, that is not maggot, it is a grub. The larvae of Coleoptera are called as grub, and the larvae of Diptera are called as maggots, or the larvae of Lepidoptera are called as caterpillars. So the larvae of the dermestid beetle can be called as grubs, and the adult beetles, they get attracted towards the stored cocoons, which are usually dried or stippled and are kept in the storeroom, where these dermestid beetle, that is adults and larvae, get attracted due to the smell of the dried cocoons and the dried pupae or killed pupae inside. Then they bore into the cocoons. They bore into the cocoons and eat dried pupae and sometimes eggs. Means the stages, that is eggs and the silkworm larvae, get infested or attack of these dermestid beetle. Both the larvae, that is grub, and the adults of the dermestid beetle, they predate upon, feed upon the cocoons, and they eat dried pupae. Means due to the a pleasant smell of the dried cocoon or stippled cocoons, the adult beetles and the larvae get attracted and they bore into the cocoons and eat dried or killed pupae, and sometimes they also consume the eggs. The damaged cocoons become unfit for reeling. So, this is the ultimate loss or damage to the cocoon store, and the cocoons infested or cut or consumed or damaged by the adult or larvae of the dermestid beetle becomes unfit for reeling. So there is a serious damage of the cocoon's stock, and this will lead to the loss of cocoons because the cocoons become unfit for reeling. Then the control measures of the dermestid beetle. The rearing house and cocoon store room must be cleaned frequently. So there should be a proper cleanliness or hygiene should be maintained in the rearing house so as to avoid the entry of the grubs or the larvae and the adults of the dermestid beetle. Then avoid the storage of rejected and perished cocoons for long period, because these rejected or perished or spoiled cocoons can have the stages of the dermestid beetle, maybe eggs, larvae, or pupae, or the adults. They can also present in the rejected stock or perished or spoiled type of cocoons, which can be kept aside in the rearing house. So we'll have to avoid the storage of such rejected and perished cocoons for long period, because they might contain the stages of the life cycle of the dermestid beetle. That might be eggs, larvae, or pupae, or adult also. Then third control measure, the egg production premises must be cleaned. Egg production premises must be cleaned, because the dermestid beetle, adult dermestid beetle, can enter the a room where egg production is done. So that room should be kept clean. Otherwise, the adult beetles can enter the particular room where egg production is done, ultimately will feed or predate upon the eggs which might be uh, kept in the room where eggs are produced. So egg production premises must be cleaned, or there should not be the entry, there should not be the entry or entry of the dermestid beetle should not be allowed. So that kind of care to be taken in the rearing house so as to avoid the entry of the dermestid beetle in the egg production premises or the room. Then periodically the rooms could be fumigated with a methyl bromide. So this is a fumigant, methyl bromide. So that should be fumigated periodically in the rooms wherever there is a stock of cocoons or egg production is done. So this is about the dermestid beetle. So these are the important serious pests of the silkworms or sericulture, which damage mainly the cocoons and causing the loss of cocoons of the sericulturist. Then second important pest of the sericulture, that is Uji flies. So these are the flies belonging to again the phylum Arthropoda, class Insecta, order Diptera. So these are the insects, Uji flies, commonly called as flies because there are large number of flies belonging to order Diptera of class Insecta, and which are most of them they are parasitic and feeding or predating upon either on other animals or even causing harm to the human being also or the domestic animals also. So Uji flies, these are the flies belonging to class Insecta and order Diptera. These flies are most important parasites of the silkworm. The Uji fly is larger than house fly and blackish grey in color. with the four prominent longitudinal lines, white lines on the thorax and broad bands on the abdomen. So these are the some of the uh, characters with help of which we can easily identify the Uji fly. So these are the identification marks or the characters of the Uji fly. So these are the serious pest or parasites of the silkworms. All type of silkworms can infested by the attack of Uji flies. The Uji fly is larger than housefly and blackish gray in color with the four prominent longitudinal lines which are white in color and are present on the thorax, that is the middle body region of the Uji fly, and broad bands, transverse bands on the abdomen. The female of Uji fly enters the rearing site or in the rearing house and deposits oval cream white eggs directly on the body of silkworms. So, the female Uji fly which undergoes the breeding activities in the rearing house where the silkworm larvae are grown. So, adult female when enters in the rearing house or rearing site, releasing the eggs or depositing eggs, oval cream white colored eggs, directly on the silkworm larvae or caterpillars of the Bombyx mori. Usually, the single adult female of Uji fly lays 300 number of eggs one by one. Then these eggs remain attached or glued to the intersegmental regions of the silkworms. So silkworms are the worm-like larvae and having series of segments on the body. So while laying eggs, the female Uji fly deposit the eggs on the body or skin or integument of the caterpillars of the silkworm, and these eggs remain attached onto the intersegmental regions, that is at the junction of two segments, where these eggs remaining attached and then undergoes embryonic development, that is incubation of the eggs, where they develops and hatches into a larva called as maggot within a period of 1 to 3 days. So after laying eggs, fertilized eggs are laid onto the body of silkworm larvae in the regions of the intersegmental or junction of the segments, two successive segments of the silkworm larvae, and where there is a development of fertilized egg begins passing through cleavage, plastulation, gastrulation, and then develops into a larva called as maggot within a period of 1 to 3 days. So after hatching, these maggots, which are very small, tiny, which then penetrates the body of silkworms through the integument with a black scar. So at the point of entry or penetration, there is a formation of a scar or a black scar on the integument or body wall of the silkworm larvae. So these tiny larvae then penetrates the body of silkworms through the integument with a black scar that remains behind after entry or penetration of the larva maggot in the body of silkworm. Maggots then feed on fat bodies. So while their entry into the body cavity through the skin, the larvae then feed onto the fat bodies, then grows inside for 4 to 6 days. So larval development or the larva then become mature, passing through several moltings and instars and become a mature maggot or a larva within a period of 4 to 6 days. The maggots, after its entry into the body cavity of the silkworm larva, that feeds upon the fat bodies and undergoes several moltings and passing through several instars and attains the maximum growth or become a mature larva called as mature maggot within a period of 4 to 6 days, and then the larvae comes out of the skin or a larva to undergo the next phase of life cycle, that is pupation, which is taking place in a cracks and crevices or in the soil. Pupation is the stage of life cycle of the Uji fly, so that will be completed outside the body of silkworms, and that's why the larva, mature larva or the maggot, which is now present in the silkworm larvae in the body cavity, that has to emerge out, come out of the body of silkworm, and so as to undergo the next phase of its life cycle, that is pupation in the soil or in the cracks and crevices in the rearing house. The infection or the infestation of this fly, that is Uji fly, infestation or attack of this Uji fly usually takes place in a third, fourth, and early fifth instar silkworms or the caterpillars, that will result into the death of silkworms before spinning of the cocoons. So when the Uji fly attacking or infesting the silkworm larva during third, fourth, and early fifth instar stage results into death of silkworm before spinning the cocoons. And if the Uji fly infesting or attacking the middle or late fifth instar of the silkworm larva, producing a poor quality cocoons, means after infestation or attack of the silkworm at the middle or late fifth instar stage, resulting into development of the abnormal larva, which will not get killed, that will not die, but there is a abnormal development of the mature silkworm larva or a fifth instar larva due to the infestation or the attack of the Uji fly. So early stages, that is third, fourth, and early fifth instar stages, when get infested or attack of the Uji fly, leading into their death. But when the Uji fly attacking or infesting or parasitizing the middle or late fifth instar stage, resulting into the abnormal development of the silkworm larva, which will not be killed, but that will produce or spin the cocoon with a poor quality. So poor quality cocoons can be produced by the late fifth instar due to the attack or parasitization of the Uji fly. And in case of third, fourth, and early fifth instar stages, when get infested by the attack of Uji fly, leads into the death before spinning the cocoons. So, third, fourth, fifth, early or late instars of the silkworm get infested or parasitized by the Uji fly and leading into either death of the silkworms, reducing their number in the feed bed, and that will be ultimate loss of the cocoon. So that much quantity of the cocoons will be reduced. That much quantity of the cocoons will be reduced. So whatever the early instars, maybe third, fourth, or early fifth instars get killed or died due to the attack of the Uji fly, leading into the death or loss of the silkworms. And during late or middle fifth instars, if get infested by the Uji fly, They produce a poor quality cocoons which are unfit for seed and reeling, which are unfit for seed purpose and reeling due to death of pupae inside. Due to the death of pupae inside, because there might be a partial spinning or abnormal cocoons are produced and which are unfit for reeling purpose or seed purpose. Then control measures so as to avoid the attack or infestation of the Uji fly. So the first important control measure or precautionary measure, that is fly-proof doors, windows and ventilators should be used in the silkworm rearing house. So while construction of the rearing house, one should provide the fly-proof doors, windows and the ventilators so as to prevent the entry of Uji flies in the rearing house. Then all cracks and crevices of the room should be closed to prevent the maggots pupating in the soil. So that will be again another suitable condition so as to complete the life cycle of the Uji fly, that is transformation of mature maggots or the larvae which undergoes their dormant phase of life, that is pupation, in the soil or in the cracks and crevices of the rearing house. So that kind of facility should not be provided to the maggots of the Uji fly. So these are the two control measures or the precautionary measures can be practiced while the construction of rearing house, that is use or provision of fly-proof doors, windows and ventilators in the silkworm rearing house, together with all cracks and crevices of the rearing room should be closed to prevent the maggots pupating in the soil. Then third type of pest, important pest of the sericulture or the silkworms, that is ants. So the ants, which are again belonging to phylum Arthropoda, class Insecta, then uh, order Hymenoptera, and there are different type of ants, black ants or red ants, which can attack the silkworms in a rearing trays and damage them simply by feeding on them or biting them, and they can kill the silkworm larvae in a early stages of silkworms, which could be grown in the rearing trays or the feed bed in the during the early developmental phase. So the ants attack silkworms in rearing trays and damage them. Then to avoid the entry of ants in the feed beds or the rearing trays in the rearing house, the legs of the rearing stand should be dipped or kept in ant wells which contain water and some insecticide. So, a bowls or the ant wells can be kept below the legs of the rearing stands in the rearing house so that the ants cannot climb up the leg and cannot enter in the feed bed or in the rearing tray uh, and cannot damage the silkworms or cannot feed or predate upon to the silkworms in the rearing trays or the feed bed. Then another groups, so these three type of pest which we have already explained, that is dermestid beetle, Uji fly and the ants. These are belonging to phylum Arthropoda, and various groups of Arthropoda or orders of Arthropoda, and they are attacking and infesting the silkworm larvae in the rearing house by various ways and causing loss or damage of either cocoons or the silkworm larvae and reducing the number of silkworm larvae or damaging the cocoons, and which is the ultimate loss of the crop of the sericulture. Then remaining group of pest of the sericulture, that is lizard, birds, rats and squirrels. So among these four type of these are the vertebrate pest. Already we have explained the invertebrate pest or the arthropod pest, but these four type of pest, that is lizard, birds, rats and squirrels, these are four type of or four group of pest which are also attacking and infesting, or which are also getting enters the rearing house and attacking or damaging the silkworm larvae or a silk sericulture crop in the rearing house. And they are lizards, these are vertebrate pests, lizards belonging to class uh, Reptilia, lizards belonging to class Reptilia, then birds belonging to class Aves, and rats and squirrels. These are two type of mammals. These are the two type of mammals, and all these four groups of the vertebrate pest which also enter the rearing house and feeding or predating upon the silkworm larvae and reducing the number of silkworm larvae. The among these lizards, so first we'll explain about the lizards. So some lizards, not all, some lizards can seen in the rearing house and cause serious damage. They swallow first and second instar larvae. So the particularly the lizards when getting entry into the rearing house, they attack onto the first and second instar of the silkworm larvae especially, and feeding on them and causing much of the loss or the reduction in a number of silkworm larvae, that is first and second instars. So for the control of lizard, the rearing house should be kept clean, and the mesh along the walls of the rearing house, there should be the use of mesh provided to the ventilators, windows or doors to prevent the entry of predators. So simultaneously, if we are using the fly-proof doors, windows or ventilators which are having smaller mesh size, if it is provided to the rearing house or the openings of the rearing house, that is doors, windows and ventilators, so that can satisfy the purpose. That will not allow the entry of the lizards into the rearing house. So lizards when getting entry in the rearing house, in the feed bed, they feed upon the first and second instar stages of the silkworm larvae and reducing their number. Then rats, squirrels and birds. Rats, these are the rodents. Squirrel, these are also the mammals, and birds, these are the aves. So these are the three group of the vertebrate pest which can also feed on the silkworms and also pupae by opening the cocoons. They are quite destructive. So the pupa which is present inside of the cocoon, pupa or the pupal stage called as a chrysalis or the pupa, which is a live stage or a dormant phase of life cycle of the silkworms, that can also be consumed or fed by the pest like birds, rats and squirrels. So whenever the birds enters the rearing house, they can predate upon the silkworm larvae also, not only cocoons, but they can predate upon the silkworms that can directly pick up birds or rats or the squirrels. They can pick up the silkworm larvae from the feed beds or the rearing trays and can feed upon the larvae. And similarly, they can also predate upon the pupa or the pupal stages which are present inside of the cocoon. So they cut the cocoons the rats, squirrels, and birds, they cut the cocoons and feed upon the pupa or the pupal stage present inside. So, for the control of these vertebrate pest like rat, squirrel, or the birds, watch should be kept. Means we'll have to keep uh, we'll have to keep watch onto the these type of pest, birds, rats, or squirrels that should not enter in the rearing house. So we'll have to keep watch onto the vertebrate pest like rats, squirrels, and birds. Then rearing room should be rat proof. So there should not be the cracks, crevices, or cracks and crevices or the burrows either in the floor or wall of the rearing house through which the rats can enter the rearing house. So there the all cracks and crevices to the walls or the burrows in the floor or onto the walls should be filled or closed so as to avoid the entry of rats in the rearing house. So rearing room should be rat proof and wire mesh can be used to cover the doors, windows and ventilators. So wire mesh with a desired mesh size can be used to close the doors, windows and the ventilators where there are chances of entry of these pests, maybe uh, lizards, birds, squirrels, or even the flies also. The flies, so we'll have to use the small mesh size uh, to the nets or uh, mesh which can avoid the entry of all such pests in the rearing house and ultimately the silkworm larvae and the cocoons whatever are present in the rearing house or in the storerooms can be protected. So this is about the important pest of the silkworm larvae or the sericulture. So today we have completed the entire syllabus or entire contents of the syllabus of the sericulture, that is first chapter of the applied zoology first. So with this we'll stop here and next time we'll continue with the second chapter, that is agricultural pest and their control. Till then, bye. Thanks.